sister, she always says, she's like, Tia, there's always an adventure with you.
I can get that.
There
from you,
is.
though. I feel like that though. I feel like you're a very adventurous person.
I am.
You're just an adventurous being.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Were you guys in pageant?
Yes. So that I was Miss Clean, y'all. I was Miss Fort Hood, and I was Miss Copper's Cove. So every place that I lived, I had won a pageant.
Yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I see the blessings coming our way, our way, our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way. I can see the blessings. I can feel your presence.
I got it.
You're not alone.
Look, we're gonna cut the BS. Tia is in the building.
Yay.
The only Tia y'all know. The only Tia you need to know is in the building. Okay, we're just gonna jump in.
Yes.
But okay. Wow. Okay, Tia Mowry Hardrick.
Yay!
All right, so welcome to the Cool Mom Code podcast.
I am so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you because
thank you.
the last time we saw each other
Yes.
was literally probably about
Like 2
a
or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, like a week and a half ago. FYI. So we move fast, which is nice. And we were doing your show.
Yes.
And it was so fun, but like
thank
we were
you.
cooking at the same time and we were talking and having conversation, but I felt like we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
And this is how I feel every time I
We
sit with
spent-
you.
yeah,
My
and spent-
God. Like,
I just love how deep you go.
Me?
So this is no, yeah.
you go so deep too. But I think that is the good part about it because I think you and I both meet and have met a lot of people constantly. And I know you and I are both very outgoing people, so we can talk to almost anybody.
Yeah.
However, when you really connect with someone and like you can go deep, even in the first like, you know, initial moments of like really talking, I think that's when you know. You know what I'm saying?
You're absolutely right.
Like,
and sometimes I'm always apologizing. Like even before I go deep, I'm like, God, I'm so sorry. But even with my therapist, y'all, I got a therapist. Yes, I do.
I need one. So maybe I need one. So look, after this, you're going to have to give me some
we were talking.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. She was like, you know what, Tia, unfortunately in this world, there's just a lot of walking heads. Meaning, and she like went like this, like it's just like walking heads. It's almost like the tip of the iceberg and up under the iceberg, there's that depth and there's that foundation and there's that why, you know?
Yeah.
And she said just a lot of people, you know, they just don't go there. And I don't know if it's because they don't know how to or they're afraid to, you know what I mean? Or they're just not aware. It's a vulnerability.
I mean, you're exposing yourself.
You are.
Right?
So that's why I think I subconsciously apologize. I'm like, oh God, I don't know if you want to go here, but I'm going to go there.
You expose yourself all day. Yeah. You're like, hey, this is me.
I'm a vulnerable. I don't. It was hard at first to be vulnerable, but I've learned how much I can grow by being vulnerable. So I'm an open book. Really.
I love that. You know, I think of it less as vulnerable, like when when in my own person, right?
Okay.
And I always characterize it as like, yo, I'm just being real. Like, this is me. Like, this is the real of who I am. And sometimes you will get the perky me. Sometimes you're not. Okay? Sometimes you're not going to catch, like, the outgoing me. And sometimes you're going to catch. But, like, the depth or whatever, I'm like, look, this is me. And so you're going to get me regardless of when you get me. Yeah. You're going to get a version
I like
of me.
that.
So I think that when I met you, I was like, okay, you know what?
We can go there.
She real. I like that. She real.
Thank you. Real. My mother used to always say, real recognizes real.
Your mama and every other mama and every other, like, you know, yes, real recognizes real. And that's true. And I think that it's hard to find people who are real, but when you do, you gravitate towards them. It's true. Hard. It's as hell. Yeah. All right. What? No,
I was going to say my dad calls Hollywood Hollyweird.
Because you've been a part of Hollyweird for so long.
I know.
So like you grew up in Hollyweird. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's take it back to the beginning. Because in this podcast, what I've loved to do is really like showcase that obviously we're mothers, and that's the through line of this podcast. That's like, right, of the show, Cool Mom Code podcast is mom. But everyone's journey to get to where they are, this successful person in their moment, thriving in life, like to get to the culmination of where they are right now, it has taken a journey.
Oh, yeah.
And so through that, I think a lot of times once we become mothers, we kind of like, at least for me, I forgot who I was a little bit. It took me a second to find my rhythm back to it. but there's a journey to get here. And
of course.
Let's take it to the back. Let's take it back a little bit with you, because I feel like you have quite a journey.
I do.
So,
and my sister, she always says, she's like, Tia, there's always an adventure with you.
I can get that.
There
from you,
is.
I feel like that, though. I feel like you're a very adventurous person.
I am.
You're just an adventurous being.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
You won't have me laughing through this whole podcast.
Oh my God.
That's first. Okay. Born and raised.
So I was born in Gelhausen, Germany, because my parents were in the army.
Mm-hmm.
I lived there until I was 2. So the only thing that I know is Guten Morgen.
Yes.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good.
Okay. And then I would say I like to claim that I was raised in Hawaii.
Okay. That's home for you.
That I would say, yeah. Like I love everything about Hawaii. I feel like the people there are just so beautiful. They're very spiritual. I mean, nature there is just freakingly gorgeous. Mm-hmm. You have, the ocean, just the clean air. Right. I mean, I have memories of when they used to burn sugarcane. There was pineapple fields, so I remember smelling the pineapple.
Oh, wow.
Growing up as a child and just camping out every weekend at the beach. My dad would go out, spearfish.
No way.
I remember my sister got stung by a man-o-war.
No. So you grew up very in nature.
Very cultured, I would say. Because we did travel all over. And in Hawaii, I lived in Honolulu. Mm-hmm. I lived in Mililani.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
So I was just all over, but I was a part of what they like to say, like the locals, so I used to speak they say pigeon. So where you stay? We would say shaka bra, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I loved it. Nice. I absolutely loved it. So then we moved to Texas.
Okay.
And there we lived in Fort Hood, Killeen.
Okay.
Copper's Cove.
Okay, now you're really saying stuff. now you're really saying stuff. Okay, so in the transition from Hawaii to Texas, you are basically, your father's in the military, so you're used to kind of being around, and probably being in the military, you're used to being around a lot of different types of kids, right?
So we lived on a military base.
Okay.
And what that means for people that don't know is a lot of people who are in the army, they would have the families live on this base.
Right.
You would have your own grocery store, commissary exchange. That was where we would go grocery store.
And that was the grocery store.
Yeah. And they would have discounts and stuff. They had their own post office. So it was a community.
Yeah. It's its own little town.
Its own little town. So the base was right behind me. I would see helicopters. I would see soldiers in uniforms, giving salutes and all of that. And
so you also went to school with all of
the school was off base.
Okay.
So all of my friends, their parents or relatives or whoever, was living with them, they were in the army. So we had a lot of similarities.
Yeah, of course.
With
everyone
that.
could understand each other.
Yes.
So how did we go from now we're on a military base in Texas to literally recognizable twins?
I know.
On in Hollyweird.
I know.
According to your daddy. How do we make that jump?
Yes, I'm gonna try.
Because you guys started very young in the business, so it wasn't like you didn't. Yes, to a certain extent, I feel like you did have some normalcy of a childhood, but
I know
I feel like that shifted.
It did
quite
fast. We were living in Texas, and I noticed a lot of celebrities grew up in Texas. So I feel like it's a great place to just learn and grow as an entertainer.
Interesting.
But,
how so? Please expand.
So there's a lot of pageants.
Oh, okay. Okay, yes.
Those.
Yes.
Remember those?
Yes.
Pageants.
I know, girl. I have my own story on that.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes.
So you get used to performing and entertaining.
Were you guys in pageants?
Yes. So I was Miss Killeen, y'all. I was Miss Fort Hood, and I was Miss Copper's Cove. So every place that I lived, I had won a pageant.
Wait a minute. Did you and Tamara both compete in pageants?
Yes, we did. I know. And she won some too. It taught, this is what I'm saying. It's like a breeding ground, should I say, of for entertainers. Yes. I think Hillary Duff lived in Texas.
Was she in pageants too?
I don't know, but I will tell you this. Jennifer Hewitt. Remember Jennifer Hewitt?
Yes.
She was in a pageant that my sister and I...
Jennifer Hewitt was Party of Five, right?
Yes. That my sister was in. It was called the Rabbit Fest.
Oh, wow. The Rabbit Fest pageant. This is where you guys, did every weekend, did you guys just do pageants?
Basically.
Wow.
I know. But I felt like a lot of entertainers came from Texas because that's how you're like groomed and trained.
Well, listen,
I guess for the industry.
You know what's so funny though? When I knew I wanted to go into modeling, and my mom in Detroit, this is Detroit, not Texas, this is Detroit, and she had no idea of like how to start or like where to put me. Yeah. And someone was like, you should put her in a pageant.
See?
And mind you, this was like high school though. I wasn't like, I was a little older, you know what I mean? So I was like well into it by then. But she was like, I'm going to put you in this pageant. We're just going to see what happens. And I ended up winning Miss Teen Michigan and going off to compete and blah, blah. But what I found is that you're absolutely right. There is literally a breeding ground for pageants in so many different places where they literally girls were coming in and they had like their gums like lasered up and they were like, I just got my gums lasered up till my teeth can look bigger. And they had like the hair and they had like, eye whitening things. And I was just like, what is happening? I literally just got my braces off. Like, I don't know what we're talking about.
I know.
And it was just so fascinating. So, okay, continue.
Yeah.
So we're in pageants every weekend.
Yeah, so we're in pageants.
We're winning pageants. You're knocking down the pageant game.
I felt like it taught me how to compete.
Yes.
Because when you're young and you're coming into coming to LA, Hollyweird, you have to have thick skin.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
did it teach you how to compete, and did it also teach you how to take rejection at a young age?
Yes, that too.
Yeah. You and I have also been talking just a lot about like growth and our spirituality and just meditation and just, personal self-love and like just that personal journey. And one of the things that keeps coming back, and someone mentioned it the other day, is contracts. So like the contracts that either you write or that people put on you when you're younger. So as soon as you said that, of like they put you in categories of what they think that you're good at that age. So if you're tall or whatever it is, you're in the modeling. And if you're, super vibrant or whatever, then maybe you're in the acting or talent.
They had acting competitions too.
So like whatever, you've been put into this category. Do you feel like they wrote contracts on you?
I don't look at it as a negative thing. I actually look at it as a positive thing, because it's even the way my mom, I feel like how she's raised us. She put us in so many different things so she can see and we can see at a young age what gave us this spark.
Nice.
And then whatever gave us this spark or whatever we were naturally good at, then we would hone in on that and work on that. So by the time we were 14 or 15 years old, we were really good at it. So when we're competing against other actors and auditions, we've already been in front of an audience. You know what I mean? Being a child star.
It sounds as if too that it was a great foundation for you to become a professional.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you don't realize, but when whether you're a child, actor or not, when you're on set and when you're in front of this and you're
they treat you like an adult.
They treat you like an adult, and they expect that from you.
Yes, they do.
They expect you to understand that time is money and this production costs money. Stand on your mark.
Learn your lines.
Exactly. Come prepared, like all these things. So I bet you came in already.
That's what I'm saying.
Pounds. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So long story short, even though it seems long already, my mother started to see that there was something special, that she was like, oh wow, these girls, they have this spark. And then I remember watching Star Search with Egg McMahon. Do you remember that show? Long time ago.
Were you guys on Star Search?
Never. We auditioned for it and we were rejected.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, they missed the mark on that one. They missed the mark on that one.
Again, it teaches you about rejection.
Yeah.
That just because there was a no, it doesn't mean that this is what your life is going to be like. And we told our mother, we were like, Mom, we want to, act. And she was like, well, you know what that means? We have to leave Texas. We have to move to LA. But my mother was also in the service. You can't just quit.
Yeah.
So she presented a case to the courts of us. This is why I'm saying life. I'm telling you, if you just really listen to the signs, if you're a good person, if you work hard, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. So she was building the case that my children are talented enough to leave the business to go pursue a career in acting.
So she has to present a case in why she needs
to get up and leave.
Exit.
Yes.
Wow.
So all of those pageants, all of those, ads, print works, talent shows. I was even telling Sierra that we went to Magic Mountain two weekends ago. And we were seeing we saw dancers on stage, like just dancing, to just, regular songs or whatever. And I was like, I used to do that in Texas. I used to dance. Fancy Prancy Dancers was the dance group that I was.
The fact that you remembered the name.
That's what I'm saying.
The fact that you remembered the name.
And then I would dance at malls. So anyway, my point is my mother.
This is shocking to me because, and not shocking in the sense of like, oh my God, I can't believe you dance at malls. People like don't even understand how much it takes to get to the current moment, right? Like you don't even understand the work that was put in or the moments that was at such a young age for you, at such a young age, to even be at the height of success of where you are now.
But it was preparing me.
Of course.
And that's
which everything does though.
Yeah.
If it's fancy, prancy, or if it's high school job, whatever it is, it's all preparing you for those moments. They're stepping stones to get to like wherever the next
where you need to be.
Where you need to be.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's how I ended up, and my sister and I, we ended up moving to LA because she won the case, came to LA. And just started to grind and hustle. And 3 years later, we booked Sister.
Really? That's all it took was 3 years?
3 years.
Wow. So you guys were what, 17 at this point? 18?
We booked actually Sister at the age of 14.
14. No, you guys were very influential of a generation. So let's put that out there first, right? Because I remember growing up with you, watching you on Sister, and it was like, we all knew y'all. Like, this is, like, we're here too. Like, hello, like, you know what I mean? And it was representation, and it was just a great, personally, I feel like when we were growing up, we had more examples of, people of color on TV in family form.
Dynamic.
Is that just me? Is that crazy? We had Sister. We had Moesha. We had Family Matters. We had The Cosby Show.
That was what it was for me.
Yeah, like I just felt like we had these, you know what I mean? Like these shows where I feel like now it's a little bit harder to find that like family show, which we'll talk about Family Reunion too, because that was one of our favorite shows. Mad about that. But now my kids will go back and watch Sister.
Yeah.
But also you were like basically no other twins of color existed.
Yeah.
Besides you and Tamara. Like y'all were the only ones, just so you know. Just so we're clear, you were the only ones that existed.
Oh my gosh.
And so now my assistant is a twin. And so
I didn't know that.
An identical twin. Yeah.
Cool.
And so whenever she, we're like, she's like, oh my God, Tia, yes. Like Tia and Tamara, of course. Like even our cameraman Tom was like, for real, Tia from Tia and Tamara.
Really?
Like, yes, from like Sister. Like, so I feel like it was like literally you made your mark, but how was it being so young shooting that show, and how was it also working with your sister, right? Because then that's a different dynamic.
It is. I have only but great memories.
Great.
Really.
That's
like
great.
like I was saying, this is a great transition because it, we were trained basically to do this.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so I remember realizing that the show had gotten picked up. My sister and I were so incredibly excited.
Yeah.
And to be able to have your best friend do the show with you.
Yeah.
Like, I remember just saying it felt like a slumber party every single day.
That's amazing.
We had so much fun together.
That's so
and
good.
to have that experience be your first experience.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have, knock on wood, I feel very grateful. Like with all of the shows that I've done, it's always been like great experiences. Like it was never like you're working with, a diva or, there was drama. Like there was just no drama.
Right.
We were very well protected too, because my mother was our manager at the time. What was challenging was there was a lot of pressure too to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when you are given that opportunity, it's like, great, yay. But then you're like, oh God, like there are a lot of expectations.
Now you got to make it work. Yeah.
And like you said, being a child actor too, it's like, there's no crying in baseball, or in acting.
These times are your most formative years.
Growing pains.
Like growing pains, going through adolescence, like, even just, I don't know. I can only imagine even just working, like I have 2 older brothers, and I can only imagine even just working with one of my brothers, like day in, day out. I was like, oh my God, like I love you, but my gosh, like, dude, let me breathe. Like, so I can only imagine all these things at the same time simultaneously going on. How is that your mom who's helping you like through this?
It was definitely it was definitely family. I feel so blessed to have a mother and a father, who they weren't floored by, oh, my children are making this money, or oh, my child is successful. It was more about, and still to this day, it's more about who you are as a person, your integrity, your character, how you treat other people. So I think having that foundation and that support system really saved my sister and I in our life. Because during that time, we would see celebrity, let's get real here, we're about to go deep. Yeah. We did see our peers commit suicide. You know what I mean? Like we're like, oh, such and such just died of a drug overdose, or we would see all of that. How did
your mom keep you kind of, I don't want to say isolated, or parents keep you, I don't want to say
she kept us isolated.
How is that? Were you and Tamara just like, y'all were like best friends and like y'all just like were ace boom coos? And
yes, we didn't go out to parties.
Yeah.
When we came home, we were Tia and Tamara. We weren't Tia and Tamara from Sister Sister. We had,
I was gonna say, because y'all was Tia and Tamara on Sister Sister.
Yeah, too. Yeah. We had an allowance, so we weren't seeing all of the money. You know what I mean? We had an allowance. I think this will explain everything, but we were dressed to the gods. Makeup, hair, everything. Heading out to our first play, Phantom of the Opera, with our friend, and then my mother, as we're leaving the door, goes, where do you think you're going? Like, we're going out to, see a play. She said, you ain't going nowhere until you finish cleaning this kitchen. So
she just kept you grounded.
Grounded.
Yes. I think it's one of the skills, probably even just as meeting you, that has probably taken you as far as you are now.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because being grounded is where the realness comes from. It's like, okay, no, we like, you do this too, just like everybody else. And like, and it's just that having that realness is probably how you implement it into your children too.
It's true. And my mother, she would tell us at the height of our career, she would say, these people don't care about you. Talking about our fans.
Yeah.
Like, they don't really care about you.
Yeah.
Meaning, yes, they do care about you, but you do not put your value and your worth in them caring about you.
That's
do you get what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah.
So, yes, that was our job, but she didn't want us to find our self-identity in success and in fame, because fame and success is fleeting.
That's right. How did she do that though?
She would tell us, she would say she was real with us. She said, these limos are going to stop.
Yeah.
These fans are not always going to be here.
So she pointed it out while it was happening.
Yeah. And we used to think our mother was like, why is she raining on our parade? Why is she hating?
I was just going to say, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, no.
That like, so, it's funny because sometimes you're like in the moment, you're like, dang, just let me enjoy it in my moment. Like, gosh, Lee, like for real. No. But I mean, from a parental perspective now, you understand why.
I'm like, thank God.
Exactly.
So I found of course, I'm constantly growing and evolving, but, as a young child, that is, it's your growing pains is when you're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out your identity. And I just thank God that I didn't try to find that in Hollyweird.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I would have been really messed up.
A lot of people who I've met who have had success as a child actor or just like early in life, if they are still in a great space now, it is always because their foundation was solid, because they come from a house where the parents cared about like how they would end up.
They weren't my best friend.
They were not.
My parents.
Exactly. So you're successful. You and, you know, Tamara are like literally the epitome of like, you know, childhood actors, successful.
We used to have bodyguards.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on some old, like, that's on some old president kid.
No, I
right?
know.
Like, to have bodyguards at that age. You go to the mall, you had to have bodyguards.
Yeah, it was crazy. Everywhere when we would travel, I remember one time we were in New York and we were walking the streets, and we had a security guard. His name was Boo. Hey, Boo, if you're watching this.
Oh, my gosh.
And we were tired of having people around us all the time. So we didn't tell him that we were going to go to Madison Square. And, you know,
wait a minute. So hold on. Let me just back this up.
I know, it's stupid.
You decide you are tired of having people around you, so you go to the busiest spot in New York City.
Of course, we weren't thinking.
Okay, go ahead though.
And then before you know it, all of these kids notice us, and Tamara and I, we are so scared. We literally had to run into a pharmacy. That was like the nearest like place that we can kind of run into. And then we ran in the back. We were like, oh my God, can we hide here? Can we hide here? Can we hide here? And they were just like, I want to say it was like maybe about like, I don't know if it was a school or something, but maybe like 20 to 25 kids. It was a lot of kids.
Oh my gosh.
And then, you know, that's how life was. That's what it was like. But my mother would be like, don't get on. No, this ain't, you know what I mean? Like, a few years, they gonna know me. So at
home,
they gonna walk, and it's just like, okay.
So while you're out in the streets, everyone's like, ah!
Yeah.
And then while you're literally at home, your mom like, ain't nobody thinking twice. Y'all need to stop. And that's the dichotomy.
I think so.
That is dichotomy. Of
She loved us in a different way.
Right.
It wasn't like, I'm proud of you because of fame and success.
That's great, though.
I'm proud of you because of your work ethics.
Right.
Because that's what actually got you here. Let's focus on the things of what got you here. Being a good person.
Right.
Having character.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Right. Okay, so how does all this, like, now let's fast forward, because you are successful, you are an entrepreneur, you are a chef, you are a writer, you are an actress, do you sing, girl?
I can't
You are all the things, and you are a mom, and a wife, a daughter, a sister. I mean, all the things, right?
I know.
And so it's a lot to manage. And I mean, even just seeing you firsthand, I know you are a very busy, hard-working individual.
Yes.
And so everything, like you just said, a testament to your mom.
Yes.
Everything that you have right now is because you've worked so hard to be in this situation, in this space. What is keeping you alive, girl? I mean, how do you find, okay. I don't even know. You know what though? Interesting enough, you were a young mom though. You were, I mean, you still are a young mom, not were, but you still are a young mom. But you're one of my mom friends with like, you know, who kind of had kids first, right? So how was that? How was your experience of like, in your career, like in the midst of everything, and now you're pregnant, and like, did your career change or shift?
It's a really good question.
And not even just your career, did your mentals?
Yeah.
You know, how you viewed it.
So in the beginning, I was very scared and I was very nervous, especially because the type of show that I was on. I was on a show called The Game.
Oh, yeah.
When I got pregnant.
Oh, this is when you got pregnant, on The Game.
On The Game. And you know, Melanie Barnett was sliding down stripper poles and wearing like lingerie and having all of these, you know.
Melanie was for the people.
Melanie was a hot mess.
She was for the people.
Okay, she was for the people. She was.
For the people.
And so I was just like, oh my gosh, how is this going to work? You know, do I, again, like the questions in my head was, do I put my career first? You know what I mean? Over, you know, wanting to have a family this time. And I feel like a lot of women, you know, can relate to that. Meaning, do they have to lose themselves or lose their career ambitions to become a mother?
Right.
But I had learned very quickly, and I'm so just proud of this epiphany, should I say, but I thank my mother for it in this sense. After having my child, I realized right away that just because I am a mom, it doesn't mean that I have to lose myself and lose who I am before I was a mother. Doesn't mean that I have to lose out on my ambitions, my goals, my aspirations, all of that. If anything, I now actually have even more motivation, right? I felt like before, yes, they were desires, but they were more of selfish desires. Now it's more also for myself, yes. I mean, also for, yes, myself, but I have even now a stronger motivation to be doing what I love to do, to be an example to my children that mommy worked hard for what she has. Purpose. So purpose. I have purpose now. Right. But that doesn't mean that I had, just because I was a mother, that I had to get rid of all of my goals and ambitions and just be a stay-at-home mom, which is okay if that's what you want to do.
Whatever it is. Yeah,
whatever it is.
That's right.
But some women believe that, and I learned this from my mother. My mother was married at 18, had us at 21. Right. So her whole life was for her kids. Right. And she loved it. But at a young age, I saw her trying to figure it out. Like, what else do I do?
What's her next chapter?
Right. And I said, wow, I see her struggle in trying to find her own identity. I didn't want to be that.
Did you feel like you came to that conclusion, or your an experience brought you to the fact of listen, you get pregnant, and especially in a career. Well, let me rephrase that. I apologize. In any career,
it's true
that a woman gets pregnant, I think she always double thinks, what's the next step, which is extremely unfair, because a man doesn't have to think about that at all whatsoever. It is something that is put on women.
Balance.
It's which I hate, because there is no balance.
There is none.
Something will always give a little bit,
and that's okay.
And that's okay. And coming to grips with that is okay.
Yes.
But I think for me, when I got pregnant, I was very scared too.
Yeah.
Even though it was something that we planned for, even if it was something like we intentionally was like, all right, let's go. Hey, let's do it. But still, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh shit, for real? Like, this really happened? Yeah. And I was nervous about what my career would shift, and then also how me as a woman would shift. And I shifted. I'm not gonna lie. I went hella into motherhood. It took me a second to find myself again. And to I think it was literally, it took a girlfriend of mine being like, okay, so Lizzy, do you want to get your hair done? Do you want to shave your legs?
Yeah.
And so for me, it really took outside people shining it on me, and then me being like, oh, shit, y'all right. Hold on, where am I in here? And finding that again. Was there a moment for you?
You're gonna actually be shocked by this answer.
Okay.
So there were two moments for me. One was, of course, looking at my mother, what I was saying.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing how she was, and I was like, I'm gonna learn from this. I'm gonna take this as a lesson. And then the other one is seeing other women do it. And actually, Jessica Alba was someone that inspired me. And I really, really looked up to her because I saw that she's an actress. She had a baby. And not only that, she was an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I was like, damn, she's really making it look amazing.
And you guys wonderful. Had kids around the same time.
We did. And I was like, wow, that could happen?
Yeah, that's real?
That's real. You can be a mom and still work and be successful.
Yeah.
So it was just visually seeing someone do it.
Listen, you hear it all the time that representation matters, but you always look at that in terms of diversity.
Yeah.
In terms of, making sure that color is represented on the screen and making sure that women are represented.
Women.
But very rarely do you look at it as representation matters in motherhood.
Yes.
You know what's crazy though? Let me just say, I know it's a little plug for the Mom Code podcast, but that is what I wanted to really try to accomplish with this podcast.
Aww.
Is that one of the things that I felt like when I was pregnant, and I guess I had kids. My first was later than you guys, so but I felt like there was no one in this space who was doing it in a way where I felt like, one, they were showcasing this beautiful family that they had, that they were still happy, that they were like happy doing their careers, but then also a mother. Like, I just felt like it was so limited on how they were showing us.
Well, especially as Black women.
Jinx.
Exactly, because Black men, Black families, that's all you saw. The representation was drama. Just unhappiness.
Broken relationships.
Yes.
Broken marriages.
Yes.
Fatherless children.
Exactly.
Yes.
You didn't see that being celebrated or represented.
Correct.
And that's why representation is so incredibly important to me, and it's something that I will fight for, and I really feel like that is now my passion and my purpose.
Well, it's interesting that the projects you choose have been representative of really strong characters.
It's intentional.
Yeah, who have like, you know, strong family or strong, like, especially now that you play mother and like things like that, you know, like you're representing like mothers who are strong and smart and funny and like.
It is very intentional because like I had mentioned, I feel like now my purpose in life is to fight for representation. And so everything that I do now, whether it's for wellness, I'm all about fighting for representation when it comes to Black women and their health, and being taken seriously as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
it's all about making sure that, you know, we are being represented in categories where we weren't celebrated. The roles that I take, it's very intentional because it's not just for me about just being on screen. You know what I mean? I feel like it goes deeper than that. I've learned at such a young age, I will never forget being on stage at the Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards and seeing all of these kids screaming your name. I felt like I know some celebrities don't feel this way, and if you don't, that's fine. But I felt like I had a responsibility to basically, you know, have some sort of awareness that people are looking at me and I want to inspire. I have a reason why I am who I am today. I want to use my celebrity status to inspire, to encourage, to help build beautiful, healthy communities because I feel like we aren't always represented in that way. So yes, it is very intentional.
And you speak as a Black woman. You speak from the viewpoint as a Black woman. I was recently listening to, actually this morning, Meghan's new podcast, and she was Meghan Markle's new podcast. And
she has a podcast.
She has a podcast
amazing.
Now. Yeah,
okay,
I know, so cool. And she was talking to Mariah Carey, and both of them are mixed. So it was interesting because their whole thing was like Meghan was basically saying that, you know, she's always felt like she has been looked at as a mixed woman because she was very light skinned. And I think Mariah might have had the same kind of feeling.
I understand Mariah. I've read her story as well.
Yeah, and so Meghan's whole thing is she had read a quote from Halle Berry, and Halle was like, she's always identified as a Black woman.
I remember that
because
I
she
remember
was
Halle saying that.
Seen as more brown or whatever, like, you know, and so she felt like that's how people saw, and her mother raised her like people are going to see you as a Black woman, and that's how you identify, right? And so she's always felt that. As a mixed race woman, you sound like you identify more in one way or the other. Is that true or no?
I identify myself as a Black woman.
Yeah.
My mother is Black. You know what I mean? And
I like how you say it, Black.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I feel like my mother is a strong woman.
That's right.
And I have seen and have felt, and my mother is dark skinned. I have seen and felt her struggles as being a Black woman. And so to me, of course my dad is white, but I am an extension of my mother.
That's right. Yeah.
So yes, I am mixed race, and I know that I know I am mixed, and I know some people, you know, they get so stuck, in my opinion, on, okay, well, you know, you are, you know, your dad's white and your mom's Black, and you know, you're of mixed race, but it's how I identify myself. And I identify myself as a Black woman. That is how I've been viewed, how I've been seen, and I remember studying in school the single drop of black blood.
Right.
You black.
You black. Right. That's how we were raised.
That's how we were raised.
That's right.
And so that's how I consider myself. And I just feel like that is my purpose, like I was saying, and my passion in life is to be that representation for my community of diverse women and Black women.
Right. My mom was a mutt through and through.
Okay.
I mean, like she was like, I know this from looking at her. She's recently passed, but I know this from looking at her and my grandmother. Very, very light skinned. I don't know. I got to do a 23andMe. I don't know what the hell they got mixed in them, but it was clearly something because they're very, very fair. And they weren't Creole, so they're very fair. Like my grandmother was one of the women who she could have passed for white, but she ended up changing like the whole entire like Palmer Woods neighborhood of Detroit that was mostly just bought out by white people. She came in and started getting Black families in as a real estate agent. So it was like, she used that appearance in a different way to help support a Black community, right? I really do believe that it's really how you perceive yourself is how you identify in the world, right? Like, so that's interesting. But fast forwarding though, you and I do have a commonality. We've both been with our husbands for a very long time. Yes. Very long time. And in that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yes. But it also is a lot of growth. And I know you and I have talked about this in terms of like growing individually, but also with your partner at the same time.
And that is something I think that you can't necessarily predict. No. Especially when you've been with someone, well, really, for so long or at such a young age. I met Corey at 20 years old.
Whew. Yeah, I'm right behind you, so I'm giving you the woof. But, I mean, I'm right there with you. You know what I'm saying?
We became, boyfriend and girlfriend at 21. We were married, I want to say, at 27.
Okay, same with us.
Yeah. So we're young.
Yeah.
You would hope for you and your partner to grow because that is, I think, how we become well-rounded, beautiful people.
Of course.
I feel if you stay the same way, it's not good.
But you've also had listen, I mean,
that's scary.
It's phenomenally scary. However, it's also afraid, right? Like, yes, it is. Yeah. We now know on the other side of things, you're right. We can have these conversations and be like, yeah, isn't it scary not to grow and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But while you're doing it, for me. Yeah. It has been a terrifying process at times.
If I were to give any advice, within this topic is I would want to encourage, for people who are together, whether they're dating or if they're married, to allow that person to grow. You know what I mean? And encourage that person to grow and change. Because I think what happens sometimes, especially when you're in a relationship for so long, sometimes when you're constantly evolving and growing and changing, that other person that you're in, that relationship with, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Who are you? Who is this person?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I guess what I want to, get across is if you see your spouse, evolving and changing and growing for the better, encourage them.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? Well, a therapist had put it to me like a letter H, right? You grow, right? And then your significant other grows. But then, and you want them to grow individually, meaning it's important for them to find their self-worth, their self-love, their value on their own. And then you're hoping that there's that interconnection, that line that has you guys growing.
Keep you connected
and growing together. Do you know what I mean?
How do you guys make a point to connect? How do you guys are both very busy. Yes. You're parents, you're working, how do you make it a point to connect?
First of all, I think communication is really important.
Yeah,
but communication, I feel like, is not the only thing. It's called comprehending what you are communicating.
So not you just talking it.
You can sit and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. But if that person's not necessarily comprehending, then that's when it can get a little frustrating.
Hello. How do you speak the same language then?
You are empathetic. So do you know what empathy is? Right. Empathy means when, let's say I'm used to speaking Japanese, right? but you don't speak Japanese.
Do you really speak Japanese?
Huh? No, I don't.
Okay. I was like, dang, she is well-rounded. I mean, dang, I gotta get on my level. Like, okay, go ahead. Continue with the Japanese analogy. Please continue.
Say, for instance, I'm used to speaking Japanese and this is how I speak, but you speak English.
Right.
Empathy is when someone changes the way that they talk, think, move, and then try to see things from a Japanese perspective or try to learn how to speak Japanese. Do you get what I'm saying? So then now you are both speaking the same language. That doesn't necessarily mean that that is your language.
Right.
But being empathetic is understanding that this person may see things in a different way. Let me jump into their shoes and see what it's like to be a part of their language. Then you'll have some sort of understanding.
Taking it to a deeper level.
Yes. It's being empathetic.
See, I always felt like as long as I am listening, I'm doing half of the job. Like I am winning. As long as I am sitting here listening, because Issa has a tendency to talk. Issa loves to talk, like in relationships.
See, that's me. See, it's like you're Corey and I'm Issa. Okay. I will.
Corey, can we please talk? Let's offline about this. Man.
Yes, okay.
Because Issa will like literally, he will lay out all of the emotion and he'll talk it through.
He's very emotional.
And I'm just like, okay, I love you so much, and I'm so listening to you. But I would love to jump to the end of this so we can like figure out like how to move forward and over this hump. How long do I have to do that for? Is that like
how long?
It's like an hour.
I mean, or like, girl, if you're in it for the long run, you're gonna this is just gonna have to be a part of life. This is gonna have to be a part of your language. How you communicate. And I think that is the biggest. It's the biggest challenge in any relationship, whether it's your significant other, whether it's your children.
I know.
Is really getting on their level and empathizing with them and trying to get an understanding and comprehend what they're feeling and what they're going through.
Right. We talk a lot and we communicate a lot, but communicating effectively,
that's the thing,
is a very different process, I think, than just being able to just say what you feel and just getting it out.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, because then you hear, are you finished? Are you done? You hear that a lot.
Now you're talking about it. Okay, clearly. Now you're literally talking to me. Yeah. Okay, Tia, that's not nice. Okay,
I've done it. We've all done it. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by...
But yes.
It's all about evolving and growing and getting a better understanding of one another.
I like what you said, though. Taking it off yourself a little bit and saying to your, like, giving your partner the space to grow in a positive way, I think is pretty phenomenal.
Yes.
Because then you're not holding each other back through this process. And listen, growing through parenthood, growing through career, growing through...
It's a lot.
Even other family members. Like, it's a lot. And so let's talk a little bit of our self-love journey. Because... You know, you're really big on self-love.
I am.
And I am too. I think I'm coming to that. Like, I don't know if I've always been big on self-love. I think I'm now finding how important it is. And so how did you find how important self-love was? And what is self-love to you?
I had a really hard time with self-love. And I really think it's because of societal pressures. I think sometimes even, I'm speaking it from a woman's perspective, being a wife, you know, being a mother, even religious or religion. I feel like we as women are taught to be submissive. We as women are taught to be passive. It's about serving. And what happens is you lose yourself.
That's right.
Like, who am I? Right. Where am I? What am I doing in this world? The big wake up moment for me was when I lost two people. I lost my grandmother, who, I don't know, I'm about to cry.
Oh. No, I can understand that. I lost my grandmother too, and I was very close with her as well. Yeah.
And we had lost Elena Housley, who was my sister's niece by marriage. And that was a wake-up call for me to realize how short life really is, how meaning, or just life, that we're not all here. Right? Like I never thought my grandmother was going to die.
I know.
You know, I was like, she's going to be here forever. Right. She's 89 years old. She's not going to die. And then when she did, and I was at a funeral and I was like, oh my God, like she's not here. And then to lose Elena, who was only 18 years old. So young and murdered. Her life was taken from her. I was like, Tia, like you really, really have to hone in on what really gives you peace. What is your true happiness? Not saying that I wasn't happy before, but I was vicariously finding my happiness through other people. Do you know what I mean? Like a friend of mine once told me to think of it and ask yourself this: who are you if you are not? Meaning, who are you if you are not a mother? Who are you if you are not a wife? Who are you?
Right.
And I feel like we as women,
that's pretty phenomenal.
Yes.
Just to ask yourself that question.
Yes, to ask yourself that question. I feel like we as women, society has put on these roles on us and who we feel like we are supposed to be, as opposed to what do we really want and what do we really want to be. So I got into this research and diving into loving me, and you know what I mean? Like really not the superficial self-love. And I'm not saying let me take that back. It's not superficial. I'm talking about light self-love, which is, take a bath, get your nails done, get your hair done. Like that's great too.
1000%.
But I'm talking about real deep self-love.
Finding
Finding your value, really finding your worth, finding your real self-love. And I feel like a lot of women get stuck in situations, whether it's a job, whether it's relationships, whether it's a career path, because they're thinking about other people
1000%.
And what other people think they should be.
Well, also what other people need, not just what they need.
Yes.
You know, one of the things, listen, I mean, you're going to make me cry too.
I don't mean it's gonna be like a cry fest, but you know, we're getting real.
I don't think I quite understood what self-love really was until I lost my mom. And so my mom,
that's what I'm saying,
died of cancer earlier this year.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. But it was such a moment for me because my mom was like my person.
Yeah.
You know, and when I lost her, I almost felt like all the love had left the room.
Yes.
And so if she wasn't there to love me anymore, then where was I going to find it?
Exactly.
And there's only so much you can look to from your partner or from your
children,
kids. You know, your kids,
career.
Your kids will never love you unconditionally like your mother will.
Yes.
It's just, it's facts.
Anybody.
Facts.
Nobody will. Not your husband, not even your best friend, not your coworker, not your sister, not your brother, but your mother. You will be on death row.
For real. And she'll be like, baby, what do you need? What do you need, baby?
Honey, I love you. No matter what
we got this. We're going to figure this out.
That's your mama.
And so it's your mom. And so I think when she passed, I just went through this whole like process of like, now what?
Yes.
Like now what? Like where am I going to find that? And it took me a minute to realize what she had implanted already in me. She had given me the tools that this whole time to love myself.
Yes.
And so that's I'm still on that journey. And that's why I said in the beginning of this self-love thing is a little new for me. But I don't think that I really gave myself the room to love myself in a deep way. And I never gave myself the permission for time to do it. So that's what it was for me. I never gave myself permission for time. That's interesting.
But that was when my self-love journey, and that was almost, I think it's been like 4 years ago.
Right.
And that was when I just woke up. I was like, oh my gosh, Tia, like true, in my opinion, true peace, true happiness. And like I said, I'm not saying that I'm not peaceful or I'm not happy. Yes, I'm very grateful and my life is a beautiful life. But I'm just saying that what I was doing was I was focusing on other people to make me feel complete.
Right.
Meaning focusing on my children to give me value, focusing on my husband to give me value, focusing on me being a wife to give me value, which all of that is beautiful.
It's a part of
It's a part of me. But, you know, back to that question, what I just asked, who are you if not? I'm a huge fan on affirmations, and the affirmation that I'm meditating on every day right now is chase the joy.
Chase the joy.
Chase the joy.
Wow.
One of my friends, he told me, he's really my best friend, and he said, Tia, what is it that makes you happy? And then he says, write a list. Write that list down, and at the beginning of each year, tell yourself to do more of it.
What is it that makes you happy?
I'm on a constant journey. Of course, I could say my children. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Of course.
My children, I live and I breathe for them. You know what I mean? They are my heartbeats. Right. But right now, I feel like what makes me happy, if I'm getting on a deeper level, is seeing Tia. Okay, I'll tell you what my therapist said, and it's beautiful. It's me. This is how I visually see it. Like, what makes me happy is I took a trip to Big Sur 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And it was without the kids. It was without the husband. Mm-hmm. It was just me, one in nature, hearing my own thoughts, putting on a fireplace for myself.
Wow.
Okay. That is one rose. So I have a rose that embodies that experience. Uh-huh. I want to do more of that. Go on a girls trip. I have not gone on a girls trip in, I can't tell you, maybe 20 something years.
Wow.
Because again, it's just been about family, children, career,
right.
But
autopilot.
What? Yeah, like I want to go to Jamaica or something like that. You know, like,
I want to go
girls.
I want to go too. Yeah, include me.
Right?
Yes.
But then that's going to be another rose.
That's right.
So what I'm doing is I'm building a bouquet.
That's right.
And that is what that's what's making me happy.
You're giving yourself the flowers.
Yes.
That you deserve.
I'm giving myself the flowers that I deserve.
That's right.
As opposed to looking for others to give them to me.
You. We can end it on a quote that I heard not too long ago, and it just stopped me in my tracks. And this woman said that her mom basically would always tell her that I am your mother. And you are the most wonderful thing that I have ever done, mm-hmm. but you are not the only thing that I've done. You know, as a mother, of course, mm-hmm. we love our children mm-hmm. immensely, mm-hmm. but they are not the only joy that we can have.
Exactly.
And so it's nice. Oh my God, Tia!
Yay! We did it!
I could talk to this woman literally all day. Obviously, I just want to like talk and like have wine and rosé next time and like just be us. But we'll definitely have a part 2.
Yes.
But thank you for joining us.
Oh my gosh,
you know,
no problem.
I honestly feel like literally we grew up with you.
Thank you.
We really did. And you've always carried yourself in such a positive light. And you've always been a representative mm-hmm. for, I feel like, young people mm-hmm. like me, you know what I mean? Whether it be entrepreneurs, mothers, business women, actors mm-hmm. in the entertainment field, whatever it is, I think you have pioneered so many different spaces.
Thank you.
And just kudos to you. So I know you are getting your own flowers right now, but I'm also giving you your flowers.
You. Thank you so much. I think that's important too. You know what I mean? To receive.
That's right, and be okay with receiving.
And be okay with receiving. Right. So thank you very much. I'm just all about, you know, whatever you put your mind to, do it. Because again, like I said, I feel like I personally feel like, and no matter how you see it, whether you believe in reincarnation or anything like that, we got one shot at this thing called life in this body with this name.
That we know of.
That we know of.
That's right. That's right. Okay? And so make it count.
So make it count.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yay! Yay! I can never go anywhere without crying. Jeez!
Girl, you made me cry. I'm mad at you for that.